Hello folks, this is Steve AB4L. We're going to take a walk today. Now this is the Deep River Bridge, and we're going to go down there to the right on foot. And here's a North Carolina Highway Historical Marker, Red Knapp Howell, a regulator. Massachusetts had the Minutemen, North Carolina had the regulators. We're talking about pre-Revolutionary War. So, Deep River Rail Trail entrance. This right here is Franklinville, but a short distance, if I had continued, we'd run into Ramseur. This trail is being developed. Now I'm going to get out and we're going to go for a walk. So hang on for a second. Okay, I'm out of the car. If we had continued, there's a sign there that announces Ramseur. So I want you to know we're close to the line, but this is Franklinville. Tower components, I'm not promoting anything, make something that goes into power plant cooling towers, as I understand it. Now this is the access. Deep River State Trail, but then it says Ramseur Rail Trail. Now remember, town borders are not straight lines, especially in North Carolina. They tend to follow terrain, and you'll pardon me, but the sun angle is low, but for what I think is here and I want to show you, we have to do it now. Now this is based on a hint from Tyler and his faithful dog Sawyer. Remember, I'm an old man. Pardon the camera work. It's a simple camera. There's no stabilization. Now let me get a little bit of sunshade. There we go. Okay. Franklinville zoning district. Posted keep out. Warning, this recreation area is daylight use only. Da-da-da. What's this? The rail bed. This was the rail bed in like the 1850s. And if you follow this, you end up in Ramseur. At the end of this spur line. And there's a round table. There was a round table there. It stopped in Ramseur down below the hill to service the mills, textile mills. There was a round table because they didn't go beyond the Deep River curve there, and the locomotive needed to be able to turn around. This is a rail trail. And it went over there, and that's where we're going. Now, we came down a hill, right? This is the floodplain of the Deep River. Now, I'm not familiar with this brand name, Casa Grande. I grew up with somebody, went through school with somebody whose family name was Casa Grande. Atlas Geo Constructors LLC. I'm not promoting anything. That's the name. What do we think this does? I know what it does. The answer is right here. It bores down into the earth. And these are the various attachments used to do that. And this is another one of these, but smaller diameter. And then this is the guide. This goes in there. See, I've seen this equipment before. And that hooks onto there, and it can be raised by the cable up and down as needed in order to do the work with these things. And that's just a digger. And notice those things over there. And that's probably where they keep their equipment. Now, I've been down here many times. 64 is up there. We came across the bridge. The North Carolina Highway Historical Marker is about there on the highway. You can see the bridge and how high up it is. So the surrounding land is at least 30 feet higher. Why? Because this is the eroded floodplain for the Deep River. I'm trotting, pardon my... There had been a boat ramp here. Is this the Deep River? No, it's not. This is Sandy Creek. This is Sandy Creek. The Deep River's over there. About 100 yards down that way, Sandy Creek snakes and joins the Deep River going that way to Ramseur. Or maybe it's the other way. I forget now. Come down and have a picnic. There's another picnic table over there. This is Sandy Creek. That's more than 30 feet. So to keep the highway level with the land over there and to cross Sandy Creek and the Deep River, this needed to be built up. They put the bridge across. What do you think the bridge looked like 100 years ago? What do you think the bridge looked like 150 years ago? We see the track marks. I've been down here many times. My good twin, Uncle Steve, loved to come down fishing here. Now that's a new, relatively new pole. Remember that less than a week ago we had a nor'easter come through and dump a lot of rain on us. And that is why Sandy Creek is brown. It's muddy silt. Okay? But why did they do this? Well, Tyler offered an explanation. And I smiled when he told me. That equipment's pretty heavy. It's been raining. They've been working here. If they didn't do something to reinforce what's under here in certain places, the machinery would sink in and tip over. Now, remember, I'm familiar with this. They pile the rock to stabilize it. Remember, this has been built up. This is a fresh cut. I can see it. Why did they cut into this? We can see it's been recently cut into. It's powdered. They broke up something. They had to make this wide enough for the equipment that you saw back there. You see? It's fresh. This has been widened a bit lately. Now, I'm going to point out something you can't see. Oh, yes, we can. Right here is Sandy Creek. It goes down and then curves and meets the deep river. You see these support pillars? You see the set beyond that after the little island? What's on the other side, going this way, flowing this way, is the deep river. So at this point, Sandy Creek is only 20 yards from the deep river. You'd be able to see it on the map. Rivers don't flow in a straight line, except maybe in other states. This is Sandy Creek. Where does this is actually one of the origin tributaries of the deep river. If you were to look on the Google map, Sandy Creek would be labeled as Deep River, but where it joins the Deep River, you'll see the name Sandy Creek. Sandy Creek goes up to what is called Ramseur Lake. There's a dam there. That's how that reservoir was built up. Now look at what this looks like. Look at how they've come in here with this really coarse gravel. And I'm not a genius. I was pre-warned or pre-explained by Tyler. This is floodplain. You can see how that was built up to get over it. So when we have heavy rains, hurricanes, tropical storms, it can, historically speaking, flood all the way up into there. So this is swamp. It's another way of saying it. It isn't that it gets flooded every year up to there, but it does every 20 years, 10 years, 100 years. And it's very spongy. And you saw the size of that equipment. So according to Tyler, they had to dig it out, put boulders in there, big rocks, and then cover it with gravel so that it could support the weight of the equipment coming in here, plus clearing out the trees. Thank you, Tyler. Now, I smiled when he was describing, because apparently one of the engineers explained it to him when he came down here. When he described what the guy said to him about what they did, I smiled. See, I took 4 years of Latin. I've traveled through Europe, North Africa, the Middle East. The Romans built thousands of miles of roads. When I crossed North Africa from mid-Tunisia to Alexandria, Egypt, we rode on a paved over Roman road. When Mussolini's armies came to take over Libya, what is today Libya, in the 1930s, they paved over the Roman road. So the Romans knew what they were doing, and they figured out how to get across the swamp that surrounds part of Rome, because they had to have a stable Appian way. Now it's changed. For whatever reason, in this area, they're using the planking. There's Sandy Creek. There's the floodplain, the swamp. Now, if you came down here in the summer, it's overgrown. So this is the way the rail line came. The railroad used to go along here. And I'm going to make a comment that's not obvious. Okay, I'm looking around, and I hope the sun angle doesn't spoil it. Can you see the pile of big rocks over there? Can you see that they've plowed to the edge of the creek? This is Sandy Creek. I can see there's a pile of rocks there. I'm not going in the mud. I can see there's a pile of rocks there. So my guess is this. They're going to put a footbridge across here. And the trail will continue on this little isthmus. I've been on that over there. Up to maybe 200 yards to where the current rail trail in Franklinville, Riverside Park, if you get on that and you walk all the way out to here, there's a barrier at Sandy Creek where the railroad bridge was back then, and the railroad then came this way. This way, and followed the north side of the Deep River all the way to Ramseur, which was the dead end. But I have been on the footpath where the bridge on the other side used to be all the way down to here, and I believe what they're doing is they're extending the Deep River Trail along that bank of the Sandy Creek, and the footbridge will cross here. No one has told me there's going to be a footbridge, but I assume that's what it is, like the one in Riverside Park that you've seen so often to get across the Deep River to go to the Faith Rock Trail. Have a seat. I think this is beautiful. Now, I'm noticing that there's red tape on the trees. I think that's a warning to them not to go over there too far. And it's on this side, so somebody marked out the maximum width of the path, in all likelihood, so that the engineer that came down here to figure out how they were going to get the heavy equipment in here and do the preparatory work would know not to cut too far on either side. The railroad crossed further up and came this way, but it makes sense to me to follow the footpath and have a footbridge here. I know nothing of the official plans. That's my speculation. This is to support the heavy equipment. Oh, there's some more of it. So we're learning how they do it. Now this, I'm going to show you something that's familiar. In order for Uncle Steve to get over there to fish, he had to cross this. This is not new. So they have heavy boulders in here so it can flow through. And it snakes over there, and the crossing point is actually over there for an old man. Because usually this is flooded, and the place where you can actually step across is about 100 feet over that way. So at this point now we are in fact trotting back parallel to both Sandy Creek and the Deep River being further west on the other side of a little isthmus. Pardon my camera work, pardon the sun angle, it's winter, the sun is low in the sky, I'm hoping it doesn't glare too much. Clearly what is here was more stable than in the swamp area. Oh, yeah. You want to understand on a smaller scale. You want to understand what that boring equipment would be doing? What do you think the pillars are sunk into? They came with equipment like that and bored down to the bedrock. Yes, the bedrock's not very deep down below this. Probably no more than 10 feet. And they put a form in there and they poured concrete in it. So these pillars are sitting on not soil, but bedrock. Why is the Deep River at the level it is? Because it has eroded down over 80 million years to the bedrock of the Piedmont in this area. And if I'm talking too loud for the camera, I'm sorry. Sandy Creek is one of the branches of the Deep River. There are many. In this area, if I were to go about 5 miles, I could get to one that's on what's called the Low Water Bridge Road. And about 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago, they built a brand new bridge. But before that, you would drive down a hill, and depending on the level of the water in the creek, you could get across the bridge or you couldn't. Low Water Bridge Road. I'm just smiling. Remember, all these paths and roads originated at the time when it was horse-drawn wagons and carriages. Sandy Creek meets the Deep River over there. So this island opens wider, but over there the distance between the shores is maybe 50 feet. I've come down here and played ham radio. Shot one end of my antenna up in the trees. Put the battery stuff and so on, the radios, on the picnic table. It's beautiful. We're so lucky. It's beautiful here. You should see it in the summer. Is that a nest in the bent over tree? Do you see the bird? Do you see the heron? The heron's fishing. No, that's how high the water was recently, and it captured debris going by. Yes, this was all flooded last week. Yes, it was all flooded, all the way over to there. I'm just an old man. Pardon my trotting. I'm giving you a tour. You have to have a pin to lock it in place. That's a spring. The diggers go into these things. Think of those concrete pillars. You want to dig a supported wall hole. So you have to put the pin through to latch it onto this. Wonder if one guy can do it or if it takes more than one. And that's just floodplain woods. And people are down here to enjoy the trail. I think they went for a walk. Deep River State Trail. which runs for a really long way, like a Roman road did, rams through a rail trail. Let's trot back up the hill. I'm going to take you somewhere else. I'm out of breath. I'm sweating. I made sure I dressed warmly enough. Now, see, I'm out of breath coming up the hill. That way is Ramseur. That's where I'm headed next. Depending on how this works out, I'll say see you in 73 for now, and there may be an addendum. Thank you. It's beautiful.